So, Minister Sajjan, I just want to ask you, I know that the military is handling a lot of this operation with the vaccine. What can you tell Canadians, or what is the biggest threat to the security right now of the vaccine? Because it is A, highly sought after, and B, transporting it across borders and across the country must be a difficult operation. So specifically on the security of it, what are the Canadian Armed Forces doing to help with securing this vaccine?
Well, when it comes to security, it's far greater than what the Canadian Armed Forces can do. This is, all our intelligence agencies and security agencies are involved to take a look at what are those threats. And they're exercising and looking at any potential threats as they are doing the tabletop exercises. So where things are identified, then the right agencies and right asset will be applied to those tools. And so that's what we're currently looking at. I had a briefing just today, and these are some of the things that were discussed as well.
Can you help characterize and articulate, you know, for people who might not understand it, but the security threat against these vaccines? Are we worried about foreign actors? Are we worried about trucks being hijacked because it is so sought after?
Well, obviously, first thing what's concerning to us is the disinformation that's out there. So we need to be able to counter that. CSE that runs our cyber center has already taken down about 3,600 of these websites, bogus websites that have been set up. So disinformation is one of the things that we're looking at. But then, as you stated, we're also looking at from the security element, all the way from the physical security side, where it might be needed, to the cyber threat as well, because we have to take a look at where these doses are going to be stored, making sure that they have the right mechanism, and making sure the right cybersecurity is also there. So all the way through, from the time that the vaccine is actually being transported to the point where somebody's actually getting that shot, that is being looked at now. And I can't give you the exact detail from not only what we're doing, but even when we do have those answers, they will be also not shared. But one thing what we will say is that every aspect of it is being looked at.
Just a quick follow-up, sorry. When you talk about the websites being taken down for disinformation, is it just on like anti-vaccine, anti-vaccine information, or is it more serious than that?
No, I mean, there's been a wide variety. I haven't got a detailed look at every single website. Allow the CSE to kind of manage the day-to-day aspect of things. But we're looking at everything from fake government websites being created. So that disinformation is something that we're extremely mindful of. But at the same time, though, I want to give confidence is because we have put the right systems in place even beforehand when it comes to our cyber, this is one of the reasons why we're able to take these type of actions. Plus, we actually have the authorities now under BLC 59 to be able to take on this work. So that security aspect is being looked at all the way through. And I'm actually quite impressed with the discussion that's currently going on. And we, from the military side, we're very live to this. And what we have to keep in mind is as we look at the transportation of this thing, we have to take a look at what inside Canada and the different regions of Canada where they're going to be transported. I'm more right now concerned about making sure the logistics piece is managed where we hire the companies. They have great expertise to be able to do this work, but we have to look at the Arctic, the coastal communities, the rural communities, and those are the areas that we are really taking a very fine look at to making sure that all the redundancies are in place for the delivery, but also, as you mentioned, from the security side as well.
We'll try to take a question on the phone. Okay. Operator, is there a question? Opératrice, est-ce que nous avons une question au téléphone?
Yes, we do have a question from Jim Bronskill from the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Oh, hello. I was awaiting Minister Blair. I don't know if he's present.
Okay, we'll take a question from the floor then.
Minister, you're talking a lot about like these high-tech security threats, but I was reading just this weekend that, someone stole the polio vaccine, they just disabled a security guard back in the day when that was a thing. What about like just those basic threats? What are you concerned or are you monitoring from just basic security threats?
We are so when I said the high-tech side, right? Give you an example of what we're doing. But probably the most important thing I want to get, the assurance I want to give to Canadians is, from the time that the vaccine leaves and for the transportation, we're looking at all the way through, all the way including the physical, the security, if it needs to required. So all that is being looked at. All the intelligence agency security apparatus is currently looking at this. But I can't give you what, even, I'll be honest with you, when we do have that worked out, we will not be sharing a lot of the security details around that, just for the operational security aspect. I think down the road, when this is all over, we might be able to share that.
Hi, Minister. Mackenzie Gray with CTV. Is your expectation, once we get more vaccines in Canada, that the military will be used to physically give people vaccines, in particular in First Nations communities who might not have the healthcare expertise to be able to administer them on a large scale?
We are prepared to do whatever is necessary. This is the reason why we're working with the provinces. PIAC is working with the provinces to do the tabletop exercises, go through the nitty-gritty details of exactly what needs to happen. And as you recall, back when the Canadian Armed Forces responded to this pandemic, and the direction that was given to the military and the action that we've taken was just that, making sure that we are able to respond to Indigenous communities, the rural and the high north, including coastal communities as well. So we're prepared to do it all, but we need to make sure that the right tool is applied to the right area. We're also looking at when the Canadian Armed Forces are going to have a greater role. So we're looking at everything from the early doses. So when the waves really start also to come in, when Track 2 kicks in, we're also all planning even way into the future of potential at the same time where the Canadian Armed Forces will have to respond to floods and possible fire season. But because we're doing the early planning, we're going to make sure that we will be there to fill any gaps that's going to be necessary. So yes, there is a chance that we might be needed for this, but we want to make sure that the health experts go through exactly what is needed to making sure that they have the capabilities first, and if they don't, we will make sure that we fill that gap.
Sometimes Canadians seeing soldiers and members of the military in a civilian setting is sometimes upsetting for them. Do you think Canadians generally will be comfortable with the fact, if the military, in particular in Indigenous communities, is handing out those vaccines? Do you think Canadians will be okay with that?
First of all, I think if you look at how many times the Canadian Armed Forces had to deploy just in the last 5 years, one, they have come to see that when they see a uniform, that the members are there to come to assist, whether it's going to be floods, fires, evacuations, and even long-term care facilities. And in particular with Indigenous communities, this is something that I've taken to heart since from the first day I became Minister of Defence, is working in Indigenous communities, making sure that the Canadian Armed Forces is looked upon a force that is there to help. And as I used to state to Indigenous leaders across the country, that this is your military. And so we have worked very hard. In fact, actually, over the years, I can give countless examples where you have great examples of where that relationship hasn't been repaired. And I think what you're seeing now is the response that we're currently doing to Indigenous communities in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, even Ontario, and in Quebec right now is a perfect example of that relationship that we have built over the last 5 years.
We'll make a last try on the phone. Operator, is there a last question on the phone?
No, there are no questions on the phone.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Major General, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of the rollout and how things are going so far on day one, have there been any snags? Are there any concerns, or what's your assessment of how it's going so far?
Yeah, I'm quite impressed. It's going very well, exactly according to plans. We had the delivery. First flights arrived last evening, a couple of flights. And the doses are being distributed today. The vaccines are being distributed today. And as you could see, the first ones are being vaccinated in Toronto. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how this is unfolding.
In terms of the road ahead, we understand that 30,000 came in this week. The possibility of, I don't know what's coming next week. How do we get to 249,000 by the end of the year, as we had heard? What are you expecting in terms of deliveries over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. So look, up to 249,000. So I'll make a round number. Up to 250,000 doses by the end of the month. There is a global. This is a global company trying to deliver to a global market a new product that's never been done before. So we're closely coordinating with Pfizer-BioNTech We're counting on up to 249,000 doses by the end of this month, and we're ensuring that we have a good flow, predictable, that the provinces that are now about to turn on additional points of use are ready to receive those and vaccinate Canadians as rapidly as possible and as safely as we're expected to deliver this.
Hi, Major General Mackenzie Gray with CTV. Earlier in press conferences, you showed us the little device that showed that it would be able to keep things at the cold temperature, the -80 that it needs to be at. From the first doses we received, has the cold supply chain held up so far?
Yes, it has. Yes. The data loggers, as you open up the box at the point of use, push a button, uploads the data, and then Pfizer has, at their control tower, have an ability to see if there were any temperature excursions. And so far, I've not heard of any temperature excursions. Everything's going according to plans. And yeah, so there's no guarantee that there won't be temperature excursions, but right now there's no indications that there are any issues with the temperature, with the cold chain.
So we're expecting 30,000 Pfizer this week, 30,000 Pfizer next week. Is your expectation that we'll be getting a larger batch at some point in time, or is it going to continue to be smaller batches?
So we're not expecting 30,000 next week. We're expecting up to 249,000 by the end of this month. So that could be significantly more than 30,000, but at this time I'm not prepared to speak to the exact numbers. We have the requests from the provinces. We know of Pfizer intent to provide up to 249. You subtract the 30,000. So between now and the end of this month, we can have up to 219,000 additional doses. The exact scheduled delivery remains to be finalized.
We'll try to take a question on the phone. Opératrice, est-ce que nous avons une question au téléphone?
Nous n'avons pas de questions au téléphone.
Okay.
I understand that the computer technology for tracking the vaccine distribution, that technology is in place, but the government is attempting to obtain much more advanced technology to get a more comprehensive tracking system going. To what extent is the current computer technology for tracking vaccine distribution and administration sufficient to your needs, and to what extent would it be really boosted by this additional computer system that the government is seeking?
So look, I'm not an IT expert, but I can tell you that we have a system in place right now to accurately log the deliveries and the distribution at all levels, and that provinces have systems in place to have proper records of who they provide vaccines to. The next step, though, is to have a more advanced system, and that's going to be rolled out as you heard Minister Anand announced today. We're going to have a more advanced system that can speak to provinces and territories and all partners. So that's very much something that's coming online in the next months.
And what is the most important reason for having that technology if we already have something in place? Is it so it's nationwide? Is it so we can more accurately track who receives the vaccine?
Yeah, I can't really speak in detail about the IT system. What I can tell you is that we have a system in place now, and we are going to get something that's more up-to-date, more robust, that you would expect to have moving forward. Thank you.
Major-General Fortin, thank you so much for your time. We just spoke with the Minister of Defense, and he said that one of his concerns is that bogus websites that are spreading disinformation around the vaccine. And he said that the CSC has taken down thousands of bogus websites spreading disinformation. Is there any more information you could tell us about this? Like, what is the nature of these websites? What sort of information is being presented? Is it from countries, foreign actors?
I'm afraid I really can't speak to that or any specifics, but really that's, I think I would characterize the minister's comments as totally accurate, and I can't really comment any further on that.
And when we talk about the threats to security to these shipments of vaccines, is there any more information you can provide about that? He more spoke about the high-tech security risks, but what about just the low-tech security risks involving and making sure that these vaccines don't end up in hands or arms that they're not supposed to end up in?
Well, there's a couple of different items that you're highlighting here, but clearly we have to pay attention to distributing one of the most precious commodity right now in a country, in a very large country, with the population spread that we know, in the middle of winter, to all Canadians in remote and isolated areas, from ocean to ocean to ocean. So weather certainly is an issue. A location compromised, fire or an accident of some sort, or problems with power generation, problems with the transportation, and so on and so forth. So all those things we're looking at, and we've been looking at, we'll continue to look at with all our partners to ensure that we bring this safely to all Canadians as effectively as possible, and that the right people are trained, prepared to vaccinate to administer to all Canadians who want to get the vaccine. Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time I have. Thank you very much. I have to run. I'll have to go to the... We appreciate it. Thank you.